Hello there, dear friends, and welcome once again to the Relaxed Fantasy Review. Today, we're going to be taking a dive into one of the most important mechanics in D&D, so important that a lot of people forget that it's an optional rule. Feats. Feats are something that characters can take a few times during their entire career. At 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level, characters can choose one of two things. They can either bump their ability scores, their strength, intelligence, wisdom, whatever, by 2 points, increasing basically everything that they care about, damage, spell casting, etc. Or they can take a feat. A feat is just a powerful ability that you can use to buff yourself up, to give yourself new abilities. Feats do not grant you the +2 that you would normally get. You have to pick. Technically speaking, like I said, feats are optional. DMs can just tell players, this is a no feat game. You have to just bump your stats every time this happens. And that's a fair way to play, but most players use feats because of the way that they drastically shift the game. Today we're talking about the Artificer, the 13th class. And since they're the first alphabetically, we're going to discuss the top 5 feats that I recommend all Artificers consider when they reach these levels. Before we begin, though, I'd like to let you know that Relaxed Fantasy Review has memberships for just $1 a month. You can join my channel here on YouTube. You click the join button just below this video, and you get a little badge next to your name in the comments, as well as my undying gratitude for supporting me. Thank you for watching, and thank you for enjoying the content. So, you hit Artificer level 4, or 8, or whatever, and you're considering a feat. What should you take? My first recommendation is Skill Expert. Skill Expert is what is considered a half feat, because you get the features of the feat, but you also get a +1 to an ability score. Skill Expert lets you choose what ability score you want to bump. In this case, I would say Intelligence, since you're an Artificer. You also get an extra skill proficiency, but you can also get a skill expertise. Expertise is something that's usually restricted for bards, rogues, and a little bit for rangers. Artificers are an interesting case study for this because they have decent weapons and armor, great armor if you pick specific subclasses. They get decent casting, so they have plenty of bases covered, and they're the only class in the game to get as many tool proficiencies as they do. So to round them out and give them something interesting, why not grant them a skill expertise? One of the intelligence-based skills, one of the dexterity-based skills, or a strength-based skill like athletics. A skill expertise can be a massive buff to any character. Just ask any rogue or bard how powerful it is. And so tacking that onto an Artificer, as well as the +1 to intelligence, not a bad choice at all. On that note, my second recommendation is also a half feat. Fey Touched. Fey Touched is one of the best feats in the whole game. You get to choose a +1 to one of your mental stats. Intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Obviously, we're going to go with intelligence here. And then you get 2 spells. You get Misty Step, one of the best spells out there of 2nd level. And considering, interestingly, that Artificers don't get their 2nd level spells until level 5, if you take this feat at level 4, you're getting Misty Step earlier than you would even if you took it at level 5. Although I don't think Artificers get Misty Step, so it's just better anyway. And you get a 1st level spell of your choice from the Divination or Enchantment schools. This allows you to grab some of those amazing enchantment spells like Hex or Hunter's Mark or Silvery Barbs, giving you a damage buff or a fantastic reaction to help make your concentration spells stick. This is just an amazing spell all around. Adding Misty Step and another spell to the minimal spell list the Artificers already got, plus a boost to their intelligence, it's a win all around. The next one is situational. Heavy Armor Master. Only 2 Artificer subclasses get heavy armor proficiency, the Armorer and the Battlesmith. If you're wearing heavy armor, you want your strength to be high. You want to eventually be wearing plate armor, and that takes a 15 in strength minimal. So Heavy Armor Master can help you out with that by bumping your strength by 1. It is a half feat, but it specifically targets strength. And if you're a heavy armor wearing Artificer, you're probably standing on the front lines taking damage, but you only have a d8 hit die. Well, Heavy Armor Master says any weapon damage that you take, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing, from non-magical attacks, is reduced by 3. Now that may not seem like much, but it's 3 every single attack. A multi-attacking enemy that hits you twice with their axe or sword, that's 6 damage that you've just reduced. If you compare this to another feature that, say, gives you temporary hit points, the Twilight Cleric, for example, grants temporary hit points 4 or 5 per round to the whole party. You have just reduced weapon damage by 3, 6, maybe even 9. That's equivalent to receiving those temporary hit points permanently. Yes, it doesn't work against magical damage, but most damage in the game comes from one of these sources. And constantly doing this, just until the end of time, makes you far tougher. So if you are a heavy armor wearing Artificer, this is a really significant one that you should consider. Speaking of toughness, the next feat I recommend is the Tough Feat. Because Artificers wear medium or heavy armor and often find themselves fighting alongside their allies in close quarters combat, the Tough Feat really helps stack them up. They only have a d8 hit die, so they don't get as much health. They get as much health as a warlock or a rogue or a bard. Yet they're expected to strap on heavy armor and stand toe-to-toe with their enemies. The Tough Feat can make up for that. It's a very simple feat. It's not even a half feat. It just grants you an extra 2 hit points per level that you've had, and then 2 more hit points every level thereafter. Now that may not seem like a whole lot, but consider this. When you gain hit points, you gain your hit die's worth, which you can either roll or take the average, plus your Constitution modifier. By buffing your Constitution modifier by 2, you gain an extra 1 hit point per level. That's just how that would work mathematically. Taking this feat, retroactively and in the future, is the hit point equivalent of a +4 to your con modifier. So if the only reason you want to buff your Constitution is to get your hit points up, the Tough Feat is a no-brainer, because it does more than any ASI could do for that specific purpose. The last feat I'm going to recommend for the Artificer is Shield Master. Artificers all get to use shields, they all have proficiency in them, and honestly, because they don't get to use big heavy weapons, it makes sense to me that if you're using a one-handed weapon or a spell casting focus, you'd want a shield in your other arm. The Shield Master feat just makes you better at using shields in so many ways. It has 3 different effects. First of all, when you take the attack action, and I would recommend this for a weapon-wielding Artificer, you can then use your bonus action to shove with your shield, potentially knocking a creature prone. The other thing you can do is that you can add your shield's bonus, the +2 to AC, to dexterity saving throws. The trick is that it has to be an effect that only targets you, meaning that something like a fireball wouldn't necessarily work. If there's another creature in the fireball as well, you don't get that buff. So that's actually kind of minimal, but a single target dex save, yeah, this would be great. Adding a +2 to its saving throw. But my favorite thing it can do is actually, when you have to make a dex save to avoid an effect like a fireball, you may not get to add the +2, but it specifically states, if you are rolling the dex save to take half damage, you take full damage on a failure and half on a success, by interposing your shield between you and the effect, you actually can take no damage on that effect. So an Artificer with Shield Master and a shield, if they save from the fireball, just take no damage. And that's actually really potent because there's loads of effects in the game. Dragon's Breaths, for example, that you will take half damage if you succeed. The Shield Master feat says, don't worry about it. You don't take half damage, you just take nothing. And that greatly reduces the power of those dexterity saving throw based effects. So, bonus action shove, adding dex saving throws, your AC bonus in some situations, and then taking no damage as a reaction against the dex save, win-win, it's all good. Any of these 5 feats would work on an Artificer build, depending on the style you're working with. If you have a shield, Shield Master is great. If you're standing on the front lines, Heavy Armor Master and Tough are great. If you're focused on rounding your Artificer out, Skill Expert is great. If you're trying to get extra magic, Fey Touched is great. Know your feats, know your Artificer, and choose what works best for you. This has been the Relaxed Fantasy Review. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe down below. Have a look for the join button down there, and keep your eyes peeled for more feat reviews coming down the line soon. Have a good one, my friends.